What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. It is a Monday, and we have got a lot of soccer, a lot of MLB, some NHL Stanley Cups talk, and some College World Series. Brandon Silva, Matt, Bradley Jacobs, Jason Pogwist, thanks for being in here. Hit the like button if you could. Let's see how the Saturday crew did. Well, there's Mackenzie Brooks going 2-0 again. Sniper only gets 1 out of 3, but overall, 1 out of 3. That's not terrible. But Amags hits his. Overall, we go 4-2. We'll take that pretty much almost every time. Sniper with a plus money play that doesn't hit there, and Amags with an even money play. We like the juice on those. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get this thing started. Let's bring in the stars of the show. We've got Sniper. We have got Awesome. We've got Sniper and Amags on the same show. This is absolutely fantastic. We've got buckets. And by the way, I do want to remind everybody before I say hello to you boys, I'm going to be saying hello to some of you boys at 2 o'clock because CBS Sports Network, we're running it back at 2 o'clock. We did this last Thursday as well. I will be your host. We're going to bring in all of the SportsLine talent. You're not going to want to miss that on CBS Sports Network. It's an hour-long edition of the Early Edge, storylines, bets, you name it, we've got it there. All right, I got to say hello. Buckets, it's Euros, it's Copa America. There's a lot going on. How's everything going?
Things are going pretty good. We're coming down to match day 3 of the group stages of the Euros, which means it gets a little bit dicey since some teams don't really care. So we just got to be careful how we're betting moving forward.
All right, fair enough. Hey, Mags, I got to tell you, I put in an outright for the golf tournament that's coming up. It's not a big one. It's the Rocket Mortgage. But before the show, you and Jake the Snake, our producer, who's an excellent golfer, for those of you that don't know, like really, really good. You guys were talking about some golf. Were you recently playing at Pinehurst? Is that what you said?
So I was playing in Pinehurst in North Carolina, but I was not playing at the actual Pinehurst course, which I think was probably likely more expensive with all the grandstands and everything still up. But we played Tobacco Road, Southern Pines. We had a good time down there for a few days. So yeah, we were talking some golf. I wish I played maybe a little bit better, but those are some tough courses. So
yeah, fair enough. Sniper, how you doing? You know, I looked at the rundown today, and I don't want to give anything away, but there's a lot of synergy, which is sometimes a great thing and sometimes a bad thing. But there's a lot of games that sometimes just by random luck, we're all kind of targeting. Speak to that in terms of random luck, or are we just finding value on the same game here?
Yeah, I would go more with the latter. I think it's value instead of random luck. And I do want to take exception to something that you said when you showed the board from Saturday and you said, like, not too bad about me. Yes, it was bad, and I'm very angry about it. The Braves did me wrong, but they're going to get us back today.
Well, listen, 1 out of 3 is better than 0 out of 3, and you've been very good. And for the record, one of those was plus 125. Those are not the most comfortable bets to take, so I admire you for taking them. You know, it's easy to throw out. It's actually never easy to throw out a bet. As those of you that cap stuff in the chat, there's a lot of you. You know, this is a hard business. It's especially hard when you're taking a plus 125 shot, or even a plus 110 or a plus 140. So just something to keep in mind. Those are never the comfortable ones to put out there. Mark Timoney says Bucket Snyder 2024. Buckets, before your official pick, your response, because Prop Stars I thought was your running mate.
Yeah, I don't really know if I'm even going to run anymore at this point, Sia. I'm just tired. I'm not really the most political person on earth, and I'm too focused on Euros right now to worry about my campaign. So we'll see what happens. But right now, my focus is helping all of us win tickets betting on soccer.
He's been on fire. So that's what happens. You have that luxury when you're so on fire that you can say, I'm not feeling like it.
Yeah, I'll just kind of do what I want to do. All right, Buckets, well, let's get right to it. You've got an official pick. Let's hear it right now.
Yeah, let's get into Euros because we've got some tricky ones here again today. I've only got one bet for us on the show, and I'm looking at the matchup between Albania and Spain. And this is a tough one because Spain doesn't need to win this game to win the group. I know as Americans, we kind of hate hearing that, but like Spain, they could play for a tie. If this ended 1-1, 2-2, that's okay for them. Spain is going to heavily rotate their starting 11. They're going to play a lot of their backups. But the thing about their backups is that the backups for Spain are better than most teams' starting 11. Meanwhile, Albania, if they want to advance this competition, They have to win this game, which means they have to go for goals. And when you go for goals against Spain, you're going to get ripped to pieces on the counterattack. I'm taking over 2.5 goals here at -115. I actually kind of like both teams to score at +100, but I'm playing it safe because Spain has shown against the likes of Croatia that they are capable of winning these 3-0 kind of games. And this is a team that could put up 3 or 4 in this matchup.
Very interesting. I always love the dynamic in soccer buckets. Let me just ask you a follow-up there. Have you found, in your picks, because there's a lot of situations, I'm not a soccer capper. There's a lot of situations where teams like don't have a lot to play for, but it's like every tournament is different. Every situation is different. Does that end up kind of like bearing out where you actually see their play like not as optimal, if you will?
It kind of depends on who the country or who the team is. There's some teams like Poland who are already out of the competition where they might actually play better in their last match now that it doesn't matter because it allows them to play kind of free and open and pressure-free football. But for a lot of teams, it just depends on who they are and what they're capable of doing. Spain are one of these guys, though, that even if it's a match they don't necessarily have to win, I think they're going to press a lot here.
Yeah, Bradley Jacob says, we saw it yesterday with Germany. They played horribly until they had to score. Bucket, speaking of pressure, all right, can we get to the SportsLine picks? Because the SportsLine picks embody pressure. We have 2 picks, and they are pressure-packed. We go to the NHL Stanley Cup Game 7 in Sunrise, Florida, where I just moved from. Panthers money line. That's what we're going with. Edmonton Red Hot won 3 in a row, but I got to be honest, again, not a hockey cap either. I kind of like the Panthers here as well. This is going to be such an interesting game. I do think the Panthers are the better team. This is obviously our SportsLine pick as well, not my pick, but I like it. Panthers money line -110. Everybody should be tuning into that game. I think it's at 8 o'clock tonight. And then speaking of pressure filled, we got a College World Series pick for you. And a capper that I believe these picks are on SportsLine, either in article or pick form, but there's more than one here. But we've got the over in the Tennessee-Texas A&M final here, over 10 at -120. Again, this is College World Series Game 3. So both of these games, like if you get a chance to get dual screens going, you're going to want to watch both of these because this is going to be super, super intense. Again, Panthers money line, and then Tennessee-Texas A&M over 10 in the final game of the College World Series. And speaking of soccer, we've got a really cool BetMGM promo, Buckets. I think you're going to like this one. Get in on the excitement of summer soccer with BetMGM's early payout markets. Avoid last-minute penalties and win your wager if your team takes a 2-goal lead. Here's how it works. Select any Euros or Copa match you want to bet. Scroll to the match result market with early payout tag. Place a regular time bet on either team in the match result market. If they get a 2-goal lead, your bet will be paid out early as a winner no matter the result of the match. Log into BetMGM for more offer details. 2-goal lead, you get the win. Doesn't get much better than that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just talked College World Series. Let's get to Major League Baseball. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners. We're back on the Early Edge presented by BetMGM. I believe it was somebody in the chat who asked me about whether I was the one from the early wedge who had Tom Kim at 40 or 50 to 1. That was Patrick McDonald. And man, that was really, really, really close. We've actually been pretty hot in the outrights department over the last few weeks. We almost hit 40 to 50 to 1 shot. I've got some really interesting plays. Of course, the early wedge is every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I've got some really interesting long shot-ish type plays. One I've already put in for the early wedge tomorrow. So you're going to want to tune into that. Don't forget. All right. Amags. We've got, like I said at the outset of the show, we've definitely got some synergy here. Like this could tip well, it could tip poorly. It's not like we got other plays too, but tell me about your play in this Braves Cardinals game.
Sia, I'm going to keep it short on my play. I do have a couple of questions that I see here in the chat. So
Nice.
Maybe I'll give those other games a little bit of play.
Yes.
And I'll let you guys kind of take the reins here on this one game. But I'll give you this. I have it up on the SportsLine website already. It's Lance Lynn under 17.5 outs. I think the number should be 16.5 at best, honestly. It's a number he hasn't been getting over the season. He hasn't been closing at 17.5 either. He had one game since May 4th that he's closed at 17.5 outs. That was against the Rockies. I don't think that it should be the same type of a number there for this Braves offense. I get maybe some of the numbers since like the start of June don't look great, but if you back that up to just the last like 10 days or last 2 weeks, I saw a Braves team that could hit when they played at Yankee Stadium, and they've been much better over that shorter sample size. You know, when you look at the big four that are still in the order there, Ozuna, Albies, Riley, Olsen, there's still some big bats in this order. And Lance Lynn, he throws the fastball a ton, over 50% of the time. He throws that cutter. He throws that sinker. The sinker and cutter were both hit really well by this Braves team when Stroman pitched. I know if you look at some of the box scores, it doesn't look that way. But when you look into the exit velocity, he gave up some really hard hit baseballs against those pitches. So I think if you want to look for a hitter in that one, maybe my pick, I know Sniper's got one, but my pick would be Matt Olson. Just the lefties have tortured Lance Lynn. And as I saw Brandon say in the chat, he's given up the 3 or more earned runs in 3 of his last 4 games or something here. But I did want to say one thing, Taj Bradley over 6.5 strikeouts. I do like that one over against the Mariners there. And I think there was one on Waldron, Matt Waldron. I don't love going under on the earned runs, just not my favorite prop to bet. But I do think he could have a good game for the strikeouts, actually, against an opponent we normally don't tag in the Nats.
All right. Put your questions in the chat because we got Sniper and Amags here, and they can pretty much answer or at least give some advice on all of them. And Amags, obviously a great segue. I kind of mentioned it. A lot of synergy here. I like the Braves first 5 money line. I mean, you mentioned what Lance Lynn, the 37-year-old, by the way, has done over his last few games, or not done, if you will. He's been roughed up pretty bad. He had a pretty good stretch, and Sniper, I know you know this too. In fact, I think I bet against him one of these games and lost, where he had a pretty good stretch in sort of mid to late May going into early June, where it was like, all right, you know, Lance Lynn has found something. But over the last few games against teams that don't exactly mash the ball, I'm pretty sure his last 3 starts, I'm going off memory here, what was it, the Rockies, the Marlins, and maybe the Tigers might have been the third one. Either way, he has been really roughed up, including his last start against the Marlins, where the Marlins absolutely got all over him. I just think we're seeing kind of like the true Lance Lynn here. And you're right, Amags, in terms of what the Braves have done, particularly against righties lately. If you take that small sample size, which I really don't mind taking because it's not too small, I'm talking like the last 30 days or so, the Braves have started to hit right-handed pitching in a pretty significant way. So I think this measures up for just Lance Lynn to have another bad day in what I think is another bad matchup. So give me the Braves first 5 money line -125. I should probably mention the pitcher on the other side here, Schwellenbach. You know, he's had 4 starts, I believe. The first 2 a little shaky, but he's rebounded pretty well over his last 2, including a pretty solid game against the Baltimore Orioles. So I don't think he might get touched up for a run or 2 in the first 5. Don't get me wrong. I just think Lance Lynn gets touched up for more than that. So again, give me the Braves first 5 money line. I like it from pretty much all angles here. Wouldn't be surprised if some balls start flying out. I know the weather is conducive to that. And perhaps Sniper, that leads in very well to your plays because your plays do kind of indicate that you're looking for some runs or some hits in this one.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the weather there. It's I talked to my buddy Dame Perry, who's a Cardinals fan, and he said that the ball really flies in Busch Stadium when it's really hot, and it's going to be over 90 degrees when the game starts. Even for a night game, it's still going to be over 90 degrees. It's really, really hot here in the Midwest. And speaking of the Midwest, yes, I hate picking on a fellow Indiana boy in Lance Lynn, but we're going to pile on here. 17 runs allowed in his last 17 2/3 innings here. 4 starts in June. He's been absolutely terrible. In fact, a 5.08 ERA since April. He's been much worse at home as well. Everything is just lining up there. The Braves offense has been very good of late. Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Ozzy Albies are really picking it up. And here in the last couple weeks, they went through a downturn right after Ronald Acuna Jr. got hurt, but now they've started to pick it back up. Jared Kelenic is really taking to that leadoff spot, looking good there. So it's a good spot for the Braves offense. I like them over 4.5 runs. It was plus 100 last I looked, so that's a good spot for this number. Also, I wanted to isolate an offensive player, and Austin Riley has been really, really good lately. In his last 9 games, 13 for 30 with 4 doubles, 4 home runs, 9 RBI, 9 runs. Only need to get to 1.5 here. A home run would get the job done. And the funny thing is, last time he saw Lance Lynn, August 31st last year, not too long ago, he went deep fly out, home run, single. So he saw the ball really well against Lynn. I think we're going to get more of the same today. So I'm over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs on Austin Riley against Lance Lynn. Well, it works for the whole game too, though. But anyway, the plays.
Fair enough. All right. I've got a couple of baseball plays to bounce off of YouTube, but Buckets, I wasn't sure. I'm trying to catch up in the chat. Was there anything from a soccer standpoint, a question or a comment that you wanted to respond to?
I've had a couple questions on Italy versus Croatia today, and I would say that if you like betting on goals, just don't bet on that one. These are two teams that have so much to play for. We could see something similar when we saw France and Netherlands play, to where they sit back and play for that weird 0-0. I just don't love goals in that game, and I honestly couldn't pick a winner. I would probably lean Croatia double chance, but that game, a draw could be the right bet there. I just have no clue on that one.
All right. One thing that intrigues me that I think it was Zach Dyer put out there, Mariners Rays, no run first inning. Amags, I know those aren't, like, I can't recall you ever making bets like that. You're usually just strictly in the player prop market. And Sniper, I might bounce this one off of you as well. Maybe you just don't think there's an edge in this market, or at least with this game, but that does look reasonably good to me. Yeah. He didn't put the juice, which again, for future reference, we'd appreciate you putting the juice, but just looking at it, just the actual play itself. Mariners Rays, no run first inning. Amags, you first. Any thoughts on that one?
My only thought is just that Brian Wu didn't really look like himself in the last start, coming back from, I think, a little bit of a time away, right? Like 10, 15 days. So I don't know exactly what their stats are in the first inning. Maybe take a dive into those if they're both been really good. You want to take a shot. That's probably the way that I would look at it, though, is just, to dig into the stats and then take a look at the starting pitchers if you think they're going to have a good day. Wu is the only question mark, really, in my opinion. I like Bradley.
Yeah, Sniper, your response to that also, there was somebody that asked about Orioles money line. It's Cade Povich and Tanner Bybee. I don't love that one personally. It would be a stay away for me. But any thoughts on what Amags just responded to, or the Orioles money line at home against the Guardians?
Yeah, the no run first inning is reasonable, I think, because neither the Rays nor the Mariners have amazing offenses. And, more likely than not, almost every single inning, if you isolated it, the most likely scenario is no runs. So, yeah, Wu and Bradley, I could see that one. Orioles money line, I actually looked at that because the Guardians are the best team in baseball at home, but they're more mediocre on the road, and they just went absolutely nuts at home. Now that they go to the road, I wondered if there's a little bit of a backslide coming. So I feel like it's a good spot for the Orioles, actually.
All right. There was a couple plays I was looking at as well. We just have like a minute, so I'm going to bounce these two off of you as well. The first one was, I mean, I hate doing this, which is why it's not an official play, but Kansas City run line. Kansas City -1.5. Cole Reagan's on the mound. Munoz on the mound for the Marlins. It does look like, even though the Royals lineup has been pretty bad, it does look like this is kind of a get-right spot for them at home. This game at 8:10 Eastern Standard Time. Amags, I'm going to start with you. Would you consider the -1.5 at -120? Obviously, they're not getting the bottom of the ninth out there. You might want to go first 7, but do you like them winning comfortably, I guess is my basic question in this one.
It's certainly a mismatch on paper, right? Like everything you look at on paper, that makes it look like a mismatch. Royals have been solid at home. So I actually don't have a problem taking the 1.5 for the full game. But if you're going to do that, maybe also look at the totals, like the KC team total, maybe on the first 7 instead of the full game. I don't exactly know what it is offhand here, but I think that's the way I would look at it. Yeah, 1.5, but I think I'd probably also bet the team total then. Don't love Munoz. I think it's a mismatch.
All right. Your response, Sniper.
I don't want it. I don't want that at all. The Royals have been completely falling apart recently. Yeah. I believe they've lost 10 of their last 13. It looked like for a second, they're just playing the Dodgers and the Yankees. That's why they're getting beat up. But then they went and they lost the series to the A's. So I don't trust the Royals at all right now.
All right. And then the final question, Buckets, this is for you. Ron Testitman says, does SportsLine have soccer picks? Your response.
We have articles on the site. We currently don't have a pick section yet for anything outside of Champions League, but last I heard they are working on that. But we do have me, Martin, the Guru, and Brant Sutton all writing articles for some of these matches as well.
Yeah, and so keep in mind when he says articles, those are picks. They're just not on the pick tool.
Yes.
Like I write an article for every single golf tournament, and so it's under the articles section, under the analysis tab of the app, or if you go on to the .com. And so what does that mean? It means you might not see, Croatia, plus or minus, or Croatia money line, or whatever the team is, but you're going to have an article that basically just spells out everything and probably gives you some more explanations than you'd get with the pick tool, or at least an equal explanation. So don't forget, there's the picks tab and there's the analysis tab. There is a ton of stuff in the analysis tab, and that includes articles that actually have picks. So the answer to your question, Ron, is yes. SportsLine does have soccer picks, but they might not be under the actual picks tab. They might be under the analysis tab. Good stuff. Good question. Appreciate that. All right, let's take a look at the recap screen. All right, a lot of Braves stuff here. Sniper, Braves team total over 4.5 at even money, and Austin Riley over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at -140. I've got the Braves first 5 money line -125 buckets. Albania, Spain over 2.5 at -115. Amags, we're going right back to that game. Lance Lynn under 17.5 outs at -128. SportsLine picks. Panthers money line game 7 NHL Stanley Cup Finals. This one is -110. And then we've got College World Series, Tennessee, Texas A&M over 10 at -120. Ladies and gentlemen, great show. I see you, Moshe. I see you are leaning that Royals direction. It looks like we've got some people in here like CID. M2 is on the Dodgers money line. Probably got that from SportsLine. Very easy to join SportsLine. Just go to sportsline.com/join. You type in winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. Super easy. If you have any questions about it, feel free to tweet at me or DM anybody that's on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, a great Monday show. Let's cash some of these tickets. Go Braves. On behalf of Jake the Snake, the Sniper, Buckets, and Amags, we're going to cash some tickets, folks. We're going to have a great Monday. We're going to stay positive. We're going to stay active. And we're going to see you tomorrow on the Early Edge, but later today as well at 2 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. I am the Counselor of Cash. This is the Early Edge. We rest our case.